I've been asked to expedite things a little bit, not because the weather is getting more inclement, but I've been informed that Donnie Brett and Jim Gregory have a tea time at Iron Masters at 11:30 and they want to get going. So, not much roll, but the greens are holding today. I want to thank all of you for coming out this morning and joining me today for this announcement. I particularly want to thank Jim Gregory and Bill Neugebauer for their kind words and their friendship. I've been friends with Jim probably just after about his car slid down the hill we've known each other. But I don't know if Jim remembers, but one of the first things we ever did as a combined appearance, Jim and I were honorary co-chairs for the Special Olympics bowling tournament at the Pleasant Valley Bowling Alley on a Sunday afternoon. Jim and I both got up to roll out the ceremonial ball, and we simultaneously rolled gutter balls together. But I certainly value his friendship and Bill Neugebauer's and so many of you today. It's just really touching to see all of you here today joining me. I do need to recognize some very special people, and that's my family, because without them, I wouldn't be able to do the things I do, and without their love and support. My brother Gary, my Aunt Pat, certainly my mom, and I have 5 kids. 2 sets of twins. The oldest set of twins, they're 26 now. My daughter Erin lives in Minneapolis, so anytime I feel bad about our weather, I think about her. Her twin sister and her husband right now, though, they live in Chambersburg, but right now they're in Cancun, so it's tough to feel sorry for them. And then my oldest boy, Brian, is 21, and he's a senior at Susquehanna University. But my youngest two, stand up. Aiden and Mackenzie, I'm so glad they're here. Nice shirts. They're in 5th grade at Baker School, and I think they're just more excited that they're out of school right now. But I want to thank my family for all they do, and God bless you. You just have been so good to me, and I couldn't do anything without you. I picked this museum today to make this announcement for 4 reasons. First, I had the privilege of serving on the board of directors for the museum when the ground building for this building took place and when we cut the ribbon to open its doors. I've always been so proud that this museum focuses not so much on the accomplishments of the Pennsylvania Railroad, but more so on the lives of the people who worked for that railroad. Secondly, my mother worked for 10 years at the Visitor Center at the Horseshoe Curve. She and her family grew up just on the other side of the Horseshoe Curve in the now non-existent coal mining village of Glen White. And her father was a locomotive engineer whose train took coal cars from the Tipple at Glen White to link up with the main line of the Pennsylvania Railroad at the Horseshoe Curve. Third, my great-great-great-grandfather, Brian Kelley, was an Irish immigrant who came to this country during the Great Potato Famine. And he was one of the 450 Irish immigrants hired by the Pennsylvania Railroad to come to Altoona to build the Horseshoe Curve. And fourth, like so many of you and so many other Altoonans, I've had so many family members that have worked for the railroad, and my dad's office was in this building. The railroad police moved from over behind the passenger station and moved into the master mechanics building, and I have great boyhood memories of stopping in to visit my dad, although I have to tell you, this building didn't look anywhere near as nice as it does now. I've always been a student of history, and I think it's very important to know who we are as a people and how our community came to be. And while we recognize and celebrate our great heritage, this campaign is about our future and the type of community we want Altoona to be, the type of community we want it to be for our children and our grandchildren. And while we certainly appreciate our past and who we were, this campaign is about shaping our future and who we'll be. On November 4th, 2014, the voters of Altoona decided to make a change to our city government and approved a home rule charter. That change created the position of a full-time mayor who will serve as chief executive of our city and set forth the responsibilities for that position. Chief among those responsibilities are to chair the city council, to facilitate the work of the council in developing policy, to lead council in the development of long-term goals and strategies to implement them, to encourage and support regional and intergovernmental cooperation, to promote partnerships among council, staff, and citizens in developing public policy and building a sense of community, to actively promote economic development, to broaden and strengthen the commercial and employment base of this city, and to encourage programs for the physical, economic, social, and cultural development of our city. I bring to this campaign a lifetime of community service and leadership. I have served on numerous boards and committees in my church, the Chamber of Commerce, the Greater Altoona Economic Development Corporation, the American Cancer Society, the Railroaders Memorial Museum, the Altoona Sesquicentennial Committee. I've served as Vice President of the Blair Concert Chorale, Chairman of the Salvation Army Advisory Board, and President of the Altoona Kiwanis Club. Professionally, my first job out of college was to serve as the Executive Director of a statewide volunteer organization with nearly 10,000 members, and that was followed by becoming Executive Director of a professional association of over 500 physician members. I spent almost 16 years working as Executive Assistant for Senator Bob Jubelier and then as District Director for Congressman Bill Schuster. In both of those positions, I served as liaison to local government, working with both the elected officials and professional staff to help them access programs and identify potential funding. I also worked with various economic development groups, again, to help secure program funding and to create and retain jobs. That experience enabled me to become acquainted with countless state and federal agencies and the programs they offered. During those 16 years, I was able to become involved with projects like the Blair County Ballpark, the redevelopment of the Bedford Springs Resort, commercial development of former prison ground in Huntington County, historic preservation projects like the Mishler Theater, and countless infrastructure projects. To be able to participate in projects like that and play even a very small supporting role was an extremely valuable apprenticeship for me. I've been employed these last 13 years in the private sector, where I've had a successful career in sales, and I am completing my third term on Altoona City Council. I've served as Vice Mayor for our city, and I've been extremely active with our statewide association, the Pennsylvania Municipal League, where I served 4 years as the legislative co-chair. Last summer at the League's convention in Philadelphia, I was honored to be elected to the position of second vice president, and in 2016, I'll become president of that organization. And that will be the first time since 1958 that Altoona will have had a president of that organization. While serving on city council, I've learned that success happens when you do your homework, that success happens when you reach out and build coalitions, not only on council but throughout our community, that success happens when you are frank, candid, and straight up with the people. Never be afraid to ask for advice and counsel, and when you make a mistake, admit it, correct it, and move forward. At the start of a new year, many of us make resolutions, all sorts of things to make us leaner, smarter, healthier, richer, happier, and more efficient. But usually by early February, and particularly right after our friend in Jefferson County tells us that we can expect 6 more weeks of winter, a lot of those resolutions start to drop by the wayside. When I was a student at Penn State, I came across a very brief verse on the subject of resolutions. It really resonated with me. I've always kept a copy of it close at hand. It helps keep me centered, and quite frankly, it's just really good advice. It was written by one of my favorite authors, Anonymous. And Anonymous writes, "No one will ever get out of this world alive. Resolve therefore to maintain a sense of values. Take care of yourself. Good health is everybody's major source of wealth. Without it, happiness is very difficult indeed. Resolve to be cheerful and helpful, and people will respond in kind. Resolve to listen more and talk less. No one ever learns anything by talking. Be leery of giving advice. Wise men don't need it, and fools won't heed it. Resolve to be tender with the young, compassionate with the aging, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant of the weak and the wrong, because sometime in your life, you will have been all of these." Standing before you today, I resolve that I will work tirelessly in this campaign. I look forward to seeing old friends and meeting new faces on the campaign trail, to talk and to listen and to share ideas on how we can create a better community, to build an Altoona for the future, to first and foremost put this city on a better financial footing and move us out of distress status, to build a better business climate so that we can create more jobs and opportunities, to create more housing opportunities for working people and stop a nearly 70-year population decline, to build relationships with other municipalities and find ways that we can cooperate to provide more efficient and more cost-effective services. This is a community with great resources and people who care very deeply about our future. Look around this room and you'll see the evidence of that. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to the upcoming campaign. I look forward to being your next mayor. Thank you so much for coming out this morning, and God bless all of you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Come on up, come on up. All right, look at that. All right, we got to get a picture here, all right?